Hello, 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 and welcome back. We are here. It is Hold the Line. We have returned for you, and we've got a fantastic show. I'm Rodney Cyrus, and I'm joined once again by Emma from MCW Fancast. How are you, Emma?
I'm really good, thanks, Rodney. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's you sound as if you've just rushed through the door.
I have, to be honest. Yeah, didn't think I was going to be here, so that's a bit. Where's
Listen,
Ali?
listen. Ali is there. Ali is here. She's arrived, and this is where we're adding her now. Hello, Ali.
There we go. There we go.
You're in the
How is
house.
everyone?
We're good. How are you? Actually, I think she's got technical issues.
I love that shirt.
I love that shirt. Ali, can you hear us? She can't hear us. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll wait for you to hear us and then we'll crack on. Look, Emma, I've got to do this. We have an amazing show on the way, right? So before I even say about the amazing show, this is a team effort. It's not just about me. So for all of you watching, I want you to, a round of applause, a well done in the Twitter world to Emma, who's on the line now with us, to Craig, who's in the background, to DM with us, who's in the background. This is not just me. So everyone thinks, oh yeah, it's Rodney Sutton. It's not. This is a team. This is a UK-wide. This is the kind of the pans people, if that's the correct analogy to use, of football fandom. We are here for you, and we're here to hear from the fans of women's football. So let's get it on the road. Is Ali all right? Do we need to send over some batteries for her laptop? Ali, can you hear us? She can't hear us.
No.
She's not hearing us, but we can see her.
I think her mic's on.
The mic is on, but she's
on.
not plugged in. Plugged in. Right, please do make sure that you make contact to us on the Twitter handle. It's @_hold the line. Get your comments in about the football results in terms of the WSL, in terms of the FAWC, in terms of what's happening, or one big question that we've got in terms of the future of women's football for me. Does it need to be tied to the men's game? That and so much more. That and so much more.
Yeah.
God.
Definitely a lot to talk about. It's been a pretty intense week, hasn't it, for sport in general, I think, as well.
Yeah, it has been. It has been. Now, I'm getting questions. There's issues saying, can I see something? And I need to check something. Can I hear a thing? I can. It was working before we added me. There you go. I don't know. That's private messaging, everyone. That's what's happening. It's like a popular radio station when things go wrong. Gremlins in the machine. Even though we can't hear Ali, we can see Ali. Yeah, so that's the most important thing. And we will get that sorted very, 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 very soon. I'm going to check her mic at the moment. Is her mic settings in? Yeah, I can't do that. Anyway, so football talk, people. Come on, tell us what you think about this weekend's games, the results. Big results for certain teams. I pay a lot of attention to the Championship. Coventry, goal blitz.
Yeah.
Seriously, London Bees, literally on their way out of the league. A win, massive win. Lewis beat the champions, serious games. But there was a game in the WSL where everyone was expecting 3 points. Well, you were.
Hoping, Rodney, was the word. Praying.
Hoping. I know. It's very much the case. There's the Twitter handle for those following. Before we get into everything else, Emma, I need to ask you, how are you feeling after that game?
I'm still disappointed, to be honest. Yeah. Because I kind of felt like we could have got something out of the game, Yeah. And again, I think it was a game that reflected sort of City's story of the season so far, just missed opportunities, that clinical edge in front of goal. Yeah, and we were outdone by some standout moments from Chelsea, pretty much AKB keeping Chelsea in the game, which, she gave a fantastic performance, outstanding performance. So, yeah, still really disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to come back to you on that. I believe we've got our first caller. Our first caller is here. We're going to wait for those in the background to
So
set that up.
we've got Jess here, Jess Cully, who is a ex-Notts County fan.
Hello.
Remember them?
Hello, Notts County.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear us, Jess?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
I can
Yeah, we can
indeed.
hear you.
Yep.
You can't hear.
I can't
Oh,
hear. I can hear.
So Jess can't hear. Jess,
You
you can't
can't-
hear.
Yeah, I can hear you. That's all. I heard the
Okay.
introduction about me being an ex-Notts County fan. I said hello. I didn't hear anything more.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear everything. DM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. Just
It's going really well today.
Listen, what do you want?
Second show, and the first show, everything went really well, and then today
Well,
it's been like,
you've got to remember this is the actual hold the line
yeah.
platform. Last time we were doing it off on and off the pitch, and with all the best wills in the world that we have as fans and working, we didn't get around to doing what we should have done. Let's just say that. But anyway, while DM is sorting that
so
out.
try again.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us? Hello.
No.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh dear.
So you can't
Yeah.
hear. So Jess,
No.
just tell us about Notts County.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I was a serious Notts County ladies fan. Despite living quite a distance from Nottingham, I travelled to most of their games. So I made some good friends among the Notts ladies fans. Of course, with me living at quite a distance, match days were the only times that we met. And I love chatting to the players after the games. Rachel Williams always really friendly to me, Laura Batter, Amy Turner. It was just a wonderful match day experience. And so there was a great bunch of fans. They're always a great atmosphere. So yeah, when the team closed down, it was absolutely devastating. It really was a bereavement.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it sounds. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, as often the game was the only thing I had to look forward to through a week of dull days at the office, drab nights at home, and the thought of going to see the Lady Pies at the weekend was what kept me going. So when the team was closed down, that was really a hole ripped in my life that nothing could really fill.
Wow, that's that's a.
Really sorry to hear that, Jess. I mean, I don't think you can hear me though.
Hello?
That's the only problem.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he can hear me either.
One of the worst things for me was the sheer indecency of the speed with which it was done. It was just 2 days before the start of a new competition, and then we were suddenly told that the team had been shut down, and that for me was unacceptable. The incoming owner had 3 months to get rid of the team, and doing it much earlier would have given the girls a fairer chance of being able to continue their careers elsewhere. And one unfortunate byproduct of that was the players who were in club accommodation, they were only given 1 week to move out, and as a result of that, the farewell party for the players and the fans was held in midweek at short notice. So of course, me living far away from Nottingham, I wasn't able to arrange the time off work to go there, so I wasn't able to go and say my goodbyes. I'll always feel I never got closure, although I have met a few of the players in various situations since. It's just not the same and never will be.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just, it's so upsetting what you've just said about, the impact of losing a football club like that is extraordinary, isn't it? And
absolutely. And worse, myself and friends were actually given abuse on social media from fans of the Notts County men's team who, for whatever reasons of their own, thought that we had no reason to feel hurt and aggrieved at losing the team we loved. And for us to get outright insults then to me was unforgivable. And the combination of the demise of the club and the abuse led to my mental state going down. downhill. I have Asperger's, so I'm vulnerable already. So my mental state really went down the chute over the next 7 months. So I stopped looking after myself. My weight ballooned, my blood pressure skyrocketed. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's just the impact of that on, and you're just one person, but I mean, I think that just shows how much women's football means, to people. And I think, one of the reasons that I wanted to get you on here to talk about Notts County is that there's a lot of discussion on, the growth of the women's game. And I think we forget the casualties, we forget the fact that Notts County folded. We forget that there was a community of fans around it. And, other casualties as well that have kind of, been commercial casualties, these teams that have been in communities for a long period of time. So, it's a really important story, and it's really important to remember.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I know
what
that.
I would say there is that you can't have a club entirely dependent on one benefactor, because when that person decides to pull out, the club's gone. So that is a model to be avoided. We've seen it happen in men's non-league as well as in the women's game. So beware.
Yeah, DM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that Jess cannot hear me. In terms of the importance of mental health, as you mentioned just then.
Hello.
Was he able to get any support after, in terms of for himself or herself? Sorry,
Jess, were you able to get support after the club? After what happened to Notts County?
See, I would chat on the phone sometimes with some of my women's football fan friends, my friends who support other women's club sides. So I depended on phone conversations with them, really, because I didn't have any close friends living nearby. So it was all down to phone contact and e-contact.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Jess has to call again.
Yeah, for sure. And are you okay? Are you feeling okay now, though? I mean, do you feel like?
Yeah, I feel fine. It's been an emotional week because the anniversary happened this week. So, of course, it's all popped up with my memories coming on Facebook and the like. So I feel a bit emotional about this time of year, but I'm getting by. I ended up following Leyton Orient ladies, and I'm very happy there. So, I'm doing okay. I'm getting by.
That's wonderful to hear, and they're very lucky to have you. And from every fan of women's football, we send a massive virtual socially distanced hug to you and all Notts County women fans, because it was a massive loss. It was a shock at the time, and we can't forget that happened.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry about the tech being a bit rubbish, but
it's okay.
But yeah. Take care and just stay in touch, Jess, and be good to yourself.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Bye, Jess.
Thanks, DM, for that. Thanks to Jess as well. We're going to try and change a few things in the background. So we're going to work on certain things. Ali has arrived. So we're going to try and add Ali now, see if that audio works. And hello, Earth to Space Cadet. Can you hear me? Over.
No.
Can you hear me? Still not working. Still not working. What's happening here? Sound goes as soon as you add me. Right. Okay. Then I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll remove you and I'll let someone else add you and see if that works. Someone else can add you. See if they can add you because it seems as if. Maybe because I didn't log in first, I don't have overall control. That may be the issue. See
okay.
if that works. Anyway, Emma, glad that Jess was able to share. It does go to show how important football clubs and actually going to games is to fans, and what it means.
I think I've met Jess at some point. I think he may or may have not followed a bit of Brighton and Hove Albion at some point. I'm sure I've met him at the Academy Stadium, and he's a lovely guy. And he's a real, true football fan, dedicated, a follower club. And He's been following the women's game for a long time, and I think he follows England a lot as well. So yeah, he's a really nice chap, and this is the reality. What he's highlighted this evening is the reality that unfortunately some clubs have, in the past have had to deal with. And these are the worries surrounding COVID at the moment, the pandemic and sustaining clubs, especially at those sort of, national league levels and the lower tiers. So, it is really important to highlight that, it's not just about the money in terms of, clubs thriving. It's also about sustaining clubs too. And it's a reality that a lot of clubs are facing at the moment and dealing with after the pandemic.
Yeah, it just goes to show how difficult things are. I mean, as you say, before the pandemic, obviously with clubs, falling by the wayside, but it's for me, it kind of rammed home a particular point that I'd raised on Twitter earlier today. I had the good fortune to speak to a football player who's in the Championship for an interview for another channel, not this one, obviously. And I asked a question about their appearances and their goals and what it was like for them if they were to be moved from a particular position. How would that impact on their overall performance and their attitude? And I could see there was a kind of gap in terms of the reaction for answering the question. And even though we were a year into this pandemic, 15 months, and at the beginning, everyone was doing Zoom meetings. Everyone was talking about how important it was for well-being. Everyone was talking about what you needed to do to make sure things were going well. And everyone was kind of talking about what they were doing with their club and their players and all of those other things. But I asked the question seriously about women's football. And this is in terms of the future of the women's game. What have you, and I say you, the FA and all of the other clubs that are actually at the top echelons of the game, got in place for mental health? Something that you can actually tangibly put your hands on, not some tick box exercise, not a questionnaire. What can you actually say and point to someone and go, my player can go to that service and speak to that person over there? How many teams have got that?
Yeah.
Have the FA got that? And I say this now with a little bit of passion because sometimes I can go off tangent. We recently saw the documentary about the abuse in the men's game that went on for decades. What are the women? What's happening in terms of the governance of the women's game to ensure not that doesn't happen, but the mental health side of playing football is addressed? Do we have to wait 20, 30, 40 years before someone says, this is what we need to do? Because it's happening right now. And I know that further down in the week, we're talking about, clubs are talking about getting off of social media. But what are they actually doing now?
Yeah.
So,
wasn't there, not last season or the season before, wasn't there a campaign led by Prince William and the FA surrounding mental health in football? I mean, I know that's not like, but I do believe there was a time where they did highlight it, and there were a lot of players speaking out about the issues surrounding the game as such. I think it was across both the men and the women's game, but highlighting areas in the women's game where there wasn't support, but that things were getting better, and that there was a little bit more toward ensuring that there were better areas of support.
Yeah, well, there was, but I want to know what the clubs have put in place. It's okay talking about chasing Champions League. I want to know, what have you done? I want to know what the FA have done. Oh, we've got another caller. Do you know what? I'm going to ask either Craig or Dim if they can add Ali, because every time I add her mic goes off. I'm going to try and add her now. Ali, can you hear me? She can't hear me. Right.
She's getting angry because she's typing really hard.
Yeah, I can hear her type. The thing is, I can hear her typing. What the heck? It's not mine. It's the whole sound. Oh.
Is your headphones down a bit quieter?
Have you turned the volume up? You all go. Oh, we all go silent. Wow.
Is my mic working, Rodney? I can't tell.
I can hear you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Loud
so
and
working.
clear.
Okay.
Yours is working.
Have you got the sound going through your headphones, Ali? Oh, you won't be able to hear it.
Oliver's on the line. Oliver's here. Oliver's here. We've got a call coming in. Have we? I don't know. Probably not. We do. That's
okay,
not for me.
so hi.
Hi. Hello.
Can you hear me? Sorry about this. I've got Oliver on the phone and I've got everything sorted now. I think everything should be okay. So here is Oliver.
I know it's Sunday. It could be Sunday service. I'm doing a little prayer. Oliver, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Yes! We just need to get the same reaction for Ali.
Yeah. Are you okay, Oliver?
Oliver, let us know what's on your
yes,
mind.
I am.
Please.
Thanks, yourself.
Yeah, good, thank you. What are you ringing about today?
What's that, sorry?
Who are you ringing about today?
Oh, we're ringing about Huddersfield Town women.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Happy?
So as you probably saw in the FA Cup. Yeah, in the FA Cup we got Brighton.
Yeah, you won. Was it 3-2 against Derby?
Yes, yeah, 3-2 win against Derby County to secure 5th round tie away from home as well. So got a big trip planned.
Yeah, that's tough. So how pleased were you with the performance against Derby?
Well, it's just topping off what's already been a successful season. I mean, since the manager Jordan Winpenny's come in, we've been unbeaten in the league. Well, nearly. We've gone on for at least, I think, 14-game winning streak now. So to get an opportunity against the WSL side, it's just massive for the club.
Yeah, absolutely. That tie will be played. What's the date? Is it the 16th of May? I can't remember. Next round, 5th round, isn't it?
Whatever the Sunday is. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about obviously heading into that and playing obviously a WSL of Brighton there?
I mean, because I work within the media team at the club, so everyone, players, staff, myself, we're just so excited to have the opportunity, to play against a bigger side such as Brighton, and to make that away trip as well. It's going to be a special weekend.
Right. Oliver, we've got a comment that's coming from Stuart, please. So I'm going to put it up on the screen and I'll read it to you. And it says, should Huddersfield reconsider their stance on promotion with the upward movement of the FA are offering?
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Unfortunately, with women's football, how it is progressing between leagues, it's mainly money-based. And sadly, when it comes to the box ticking to be promoted to the elite level of the championship, we just, as a club, don't have that funding in place, especially from the men's team. It's just, unfortunately, not there. So we fall short anyway. So I think they've just made a decision due to COVID and due to the overall financial situation that we just can't physically possibly go for it, which is a shame. But in the end, you have to understand it that way.
Is it just, do you just fall short on funding?
Well, from what I understand, yeah. I mean, as you know, it's a big box ticking exercise, isn't it, to get the license. And when it comes to grounds and that, we would have, compared to some of the other teams, a lot more boxes to tick still. And obviously that's including finding a relevant stadium, seats, and it's all that. But I believe funding is the biggest issue, most likely. So it's just a situation we're in, especially with COVID at the moment, sadly.
Yeah. Meeting the criteria and all those sort of elements. I mean, how's it been for the club, obviously, coming back from, obviously, the curtailment of the season, the postponement, and then coming back in? Obviously, there was a little bit of talk surrounding those teams heading into the FA Cup fixtures with lack of training and lack of preparation. And obviously, Huddersfield Town, they did really well in the fixtures. But how was it sort of behind the scenes for the players?
I think, especially when the decision came in to stop our league, there was anger that clubs like our level were being used to make up the numbers for the bigger elite clubs. But the fact is, we were drawn against Brighouse Town, which, geography-wise, they're only like 5 minutes down the road from each other in theory. So it was a big, big tie to prepare for, and we knew we had to win as a club just to get one over our neighbours. So I think all the anger, what possibly was there behind the scenes about the season ending, it soon was ended to focus on the FA Cup. And, well, we're going on a run now, and it's all happy days now. But it's just a shame we don't have any league to play in between, and it's just an unfair advantage in the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no kind of silver lining with the fixture that you've got and the gap in terms of game time for the players. There's nothing there that you can pin your hat on and say we can pull the best out of this. So yeah, I feel for the players, definitely.
Yeah.
Another question. This is a secret one. It's not come through the normal channels. It says, do you work with the men's team as well?
In terms of
the
media,
only
proper connection we have. No, we unfortunately not. It's all voluntary based at Huddersfield Town Women. The only connection we have to the men's team is just supplying kits or using the logo and possibly sharing like match reports or what have you across the websites. But we're fully separate to the men's team. And the media wise, we've just built up from a blank canvas this season. Got a good team of 6 volunteers, and we're all striving, we're all working together and just building a big presence for the club at the current level we're at.
Well, it kind of sounds like Hold the Line, really. Big bunch of volunteers all coming together across the.
Yeah, Oliver, I was just going to ask you before you do go. How are the team obviously preparing for the game against Brighton? Are they managing to fit any kind of friendlies in?
Well, yes. I've just come home today from. We've just played AFC Fylde, who, if you see the table, obviously our kind of competition in the league because we were both fighting at the top, and it was a 1-1 draw after both teams fought really well and cancelled each other out. But we've been having the odd friendly after each other, and I think next week we've got a week off, but we're straight back into a friendly and training sessions each week. So everyone's preparing well.
That's good. Oliver, before you go, one more comment and questions coming from Stuart again. He says, is he right that you have a Manchester United youth player on loan, and if so, what's her name and how has she done?
I think we did have a Manchester United youth player, I believe, last year. She's not with us now. I think she was called Charlotte Newsom or something.
Right.
I can't really remember off the top of my head, but she was good for us. But obviously, with the season ending, everything was cut short. So.
All right, no worries. Well, you've answered that question. The Manchester United query. There's always Manchester United players everywhere, like sand in your kit. When you come back from the beach, you just got sand everywhere. Man United players, youth players, on loan play everywhere. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you very much. And
all the best for the next round as well.
Please call again when we sort out the next time we're doing this.
Yes, pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Gosh, so much to chat. And we've still got someone in the background and we're trying to sort out. And I don't even know what we're going to do. We're going to actually go and do the results from today's games. We're going to get those up now. We've got the dulcet tones of Craig doing his level best CFAX stroke teletext and the results. Here they are now.
The Barclays Women's Super League. Manchester City 2, Chelsea 2. Aston Villa 2, Bristol City 2. Manchester United 4, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Arsenal 2, Brighton of Albion 0. Birmingham City 1, Reading 1. And West Ham United 0, Everton 0. The Women's Championship. Charlton Athletic 2, Durham 1. Sheffield United 0, Liverpool 1. Lewes 1, Leicester City 0. London Bees 3, Blackburn Rovers 2. And Coventry United 5, Crystal Palace 2.
Well, do you know what? I do love that, you know.
I do.
Nostalgia.
It is so nostalgic, honestly.
That's what football's about, isn't it? You can imagine sitting down, you know, with your tea and, you know, whatever shortbread biscuits your parents have baked. Grit.
So many good memories of like going watching like football with my dad, getting in the car, 5 o'clock. Honestly, love it.
Love it. Do you know what? With those results, I need to talk about a particular game which took place not too long ago. I mean, in the WSL, Aston Villa, Bristol.
Okay.
It's a bit tense, isn't it?
It was a bit tense. I honestly thought Bristol would have been able to get like the 3 points out of that game. And yeah, Villa took obviously that 2-0 lead into the first half, and unbelievable. And I said, I think on Twitter, you know, Bristol have got to sort of find a bit of a resurgence here to find their way back into the game to get something out of it. And wow, didn't they just? It was pretty unbelievable, really. I don't know if you're a Villa or a Bristol fan. You know, you probably
not personally, no.
Well, you'd be a little bit disappointed because you felt you could have got something out of the game, I think. But you know, obviously a shared point, and it does hold some bearing on obviously on the bottom of the table, and that's a fight for survival. So it's going to be an interesting couple of games now.
It is going to be an interesting couple of games indeed. You know, I feel for West Ham. I do. I feel for Bristol. I feel for Villa-ish. You know, what can I say? But in a sense, I feel for Villa, but I can understand why they're there, because they had a really good squad in the Championship and they tore it up.
Yeah.
They tore it up and they gambled, and, you know, and they've gambled again with the manager or changing the manager. And who knows what's happened to Gemma Davis? They might have her in the boot of the car somewhere. I've no idea. Joking aside,
for weeks.
Yeah, honestly, it's a Brookside episode. We need to check the patio.
Yeah,
joking aside,
it is a very strange one, but he's quite a vocal coach, isn't he? He sort of talks the team through it, and go on.
No, I've seen games in the Championship where the coaching staff is very vocal, right? Very vocal, and they do talk their team through it. And I've watched one particular game where the coaching staff weren't as vocal and the team did not turn up. And I'm not thinking to myself, if you're not talking as an impetus, does that mean that the team don't actually apply all of the application that they need to do in the game? Now, if they've changed the manager for that, then is that a question about the management? Is it a question about the manager? Or is it a question about players' application? Not sure which one it is.
Yeah, it's almost been a bit of a slow burn, hasn't it? But it's I don't know. I mean, if they can obviously find a way of staying up, Villa, I think it will be probably a very well-earned surprise, to be honest, because I've still got them earmarked for relegation, to be honest. Even with that, I think they've got a game in hand, haven't they, on Bristol? So
they've got quite a few games in hand, I think.
Is it a few?
I think they've got a few. I think it's 2 games.
Right.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I need to double check. We've got comments coming in. Thank you for those who are watching on YouTube and getting involved. Love the classified checks. Great memories. So nice, definitely. Craig is popping up everywhere. He is, isn't he? He said if they hadn't given them a 2-0 head start.
Who knows what would have happened? I mean, it was a really good game. To be honest, I quite enjoyed it as a watch. So
yeah.
You know, if Bristol can fight their way, you know, toward the end of the season, you know, anything can happen at this point. Honestly, it's so close, so tight at the bottom of the table. It's yeah.
Right. I'm going to say, in fact, I've been checked. It's just one game. Birmingham City versus Aston Villa, and then Arsenal versus West Ham are the 2 games in hand. So it's kind of one game, but yeah. So there you go. I'm going to try Ali one more time. Ali, are you there? Can you hear me? Hold on. She can hear me. Hold on. Can you hear me, Ali?
Hey! I think we've done it. I think we've cracked it. Sorry, guys, for being so disruptive. I'm here now.
You know what? I didn't want to leave you outside. It's like you walk past someone's house and you see the cat just looking at the door, thinking, "Let me in. I've been out all night. Let me in."
Yeah, it must be something up with the headphones, but is here now, so you know.
Okay. You know what? I don't know where your headphones are from. Were they from Dixon's?
God knows. They're Kate's, are not mine. I steal everything from Kate.
Well, I think she's giving you a dud pair. That's what you need to say. Listen, Emma, don't go anywhere. I know that we were only meant to be doing this, but you're here now. We're all in. We're in the house. And I know it's a bit odd, but we're in.
I don't mind.
You're staying there. You're staying there.
You're telling me it's 7 o'clock. Emma, get online. Ali's not here.
Listen. I've listened to TalkSport in the morning, and they've got like taped recording because Big Alan Brazil hasn't got up yet. Don't worry about it. We're fans.
Wait a minute. We've got a caller coming in. So
apologies, manager. I did see the message. Apologies.
So Shahan is here, my co-host on the Bristol City Vixen cast, and excellent co-conspirator. You want to talk about the social media blackout, I believe.
Yeah, brilliant. Shahan, welcome. How are you?
Shahan.
Thanks, hello, good evening, Ronnie, good evening, Emma, good evening, Ali, good evening, Craig, good evening, Jess, and to everyone else who's watching and listening. So my question for the panel tonight is, in regards to the football governing bodies in England who plan to stage a social media boycott next weekend in solidarity with the ongoing abuse that players are particularly receiving, all their social media accounts are going to be turned off for this coming Friday from 3 p.m. until 11:59 p.m. on Monday, May the 3rd. And as such, the Premier League, EFL, WSL, and all women's championship clubs are going to have their accounts switched off. Obviously, I stand with the solidarity and to put more pressure on to the social media companies to handle the abusive comments. But my main quick question for the panel is, based on the responses I've seen elsewhere, do you think the timing may be crucial? Because next weekend, not just in women's football, but men's football as well, like there's a lot of vital fixtures, and a lot of people do rely on social media updates from respective clubs, and maybe even lower down the league pyramid as well. And also, like, I was going to ask yourselves, like, will on and off the pitch and MCW Fancast, will they be taking part in the blackout as well? As for the Bristol City Vixen cast, I think I need to speak with DM and that's about that. But yeah, I was just going to ask, in regards to the social media blackout happening next weekend, do you have any comments? Do you support it? And do you think it might be? Do you think it can have a knock-on effect, especially with the women's game?
Do you know something? That's a really good question, especially when you actually threw like fan-based media into the mix. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm still mulling it over. Ali,
As I'm finally here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming to everyone, but I think what Shahan's question is really good. Ali, do you have an opinion on this, or what do you, I mean, would girls in claret and blue, imagine, would you stand alongside the clubs and say we're going to have a media blackout, or would you not?
No, we absolutely would, and something I have to talk to with my co-host, but we absolutely would. I think it was pointed out by Katie, is it Katie Root, who's with Lewis player, that it coincides with their last game of their season.
Yeah, everyone's last game for championship.
Yeah, for championship. So while it's a game, it's two halves, isn't it? It's as one thing they would love to be able to big up the fact that it's their last game of the season and what they're going to do. You weigh up what's more important. I suppose. I mean, I know you've been talking about it for ages, Rodney, but clubs should be, putting their money where their mouth is and actually like pulling social media, So we'll see if it makes a difference. Do I think it'll make a difference? No, because it's the club's official Twitters are going silent, but that isn't going to stop the comments on players' Twitters and Instagrams. It's not going to stop the fan Twitters and stuff like that still going on with the same abuse as ever. So do I think it's going to make a difference? No, I think it's a great idea, but it needs to be a bit more substantial.
Yeah, all good points. Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, obviously from the MCW Fancast point of view, we will stand in solidarity with obviously the blackout. Like Ali said, it's whether it'll make a difference. That's the problem. I think it is, it's not an hour or 2 hours. The fact that it's across the weekend, I think is quite strong. But I think, like you said, it's an important weekend for the women's game in terms of those championship games, and where there's been a sort of lack of coverage in terms of the FA player. A lot of fans obviously were not able to attend the games. Sort of their only outlet is to obviously use social media to obviously find out what's going on through live text commentary. So I think it is a sort of a shame in that respect, because obviously it affects so many clubs in different ways, and obviously that platform that we're trying to build the women's game on is kind of being taken away for the right reasons, obviously, but it is still a shame that that's what we're having to resort to.
Craig's put comment there and says, if the championship title race or relegation went to the final day, would it have happened? Really good question.
I don't think they cared. I'm going to be honest. I think if it had been the Premier League final, who's going to win, who's going to go get relegated, then they might have reconsidered it. But to be honest, I don't think they care about the women's championship.
Yeah, so I mean, you said you'll stand with the teams and you'll probably support the blackout. Would you do the same, Emma, for MCW Fancast?
Yeah, I said at the start we would stand with solidarity. Yeah. With the blackout.
Yeah, I actually hadn't considered it in terms of, for on and off the pitch, and obviously we haven't discussed it for Hold the Line. I'm sure we will, but the timing is always questionable, because the moral basis of it, get it, totally support it. Could have done it during during an international break, because if you're choosing the end of the season for the championship, you could have chosen it when there was international week. If players are on international duty, you could have chosen then for the club's Twitter accounts to shut down and other social media platforms. That would have been, for me, that would have made sense, because fans are always crying out to get content. So if the clubs have actually said, "No, this is what we're going to do now," great. But at the end of the season for the championship, so this is, for some players, it might be the last game they have with that team before they go on to somewhere else, or it's a very difficult thing. I probably will stand in support, but I will question the timing. But I would want to know what will they do next season? Are they going to be more focused in terms of their timing? Will it be scheduled throughout the season, and will it be done at weekends when it doesn't hurt for teams that aren't always necessarily in the limelight? Because if you're doing it for everyone, then do it for everyone, and it hits all the major games. but you kind of do it in a way that the championship is the last game of the season, and you just think, well, we don't really, you know, it'll impact you, but the other fans have still got other games to watch, so it's okay. You know, if it was the end of the season for every single team, would they have done it? Doubt it very much. Doubt it very. I mean, honestly, if it was the end of the season for Premier League, wouldn't have done it. Wouldn't have done it.
I just think it goes back to the real core of the problem, is that the policing, the actual online safety, and ensuring these sort of comments are being monitored and removed, and more checks need to take place in terms of people signing up for the accounts and just kind of targeting certain players, certain people, clubs. That side of things needs to be improved, and I don't really feel as though obviously it's had a lot of media and it's a lot of attention around the blackout, because there's obviously so many leagues and clubs taking part. I think the majority of everyone is on board with it, which is incredible, and even the FSA are on board, and a lot of the supporters groups, and which is really encouraging and great to see. But I think the whole policing and the monitoring of these kind of comments and the offensive language and all that side of things needs to be managed better. That's where we need to see the improvements, because that makes all this hopefully situation improve, because at the moment it's I think worse than ever.
Yeah, it definitely is. I want to do a quick bit of admin. Thanks to everyone's watching. Please join in with your comments and share your thoughts on, it should say on the women's game. That's what happens when you type in quickly. It should thoughts the won the women's game. Terrible. It should have been proofread. Who sent that out? Hide it. Yeah, lots. Do you know what? That kind of leads on to the point that I have in my mind. The future of women's football. This question: does it have to be linked to the men's game?
After this week, no.
Yeah,
the men's game anymore.
Yeah, there's no moral basis really. There's no moral basis for those of you who are watching and you're fans of the women's game. And I know that there are many fans at different clubs across the UK, probably in Europe as well, that have had the same conversations with one another where they go, we need more investment, we need more funding, the men's team aren't doing enough, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And then we've seen this time last week, bombshell, anarchy, the takeover, the coup d'etat of football, Big Six and the other six tried to take over the world. Lots of shame, lots of, furrowed brows. Is this what the women's game wanted? Do they want to be tied to that?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. We've got a call.
Sorry, is Shahan still here? So, yeah, what does Shahan think about the...
Yeah, Shahan. Sorry, Shahan. We got so carried away. This is because you're family. How dare you? If you were a real guest, we would have paid more attention to you. But we treated you like family. Your shoes are off. You're sitting in the sofa. Tea. Anyway, sorry, Shahan. Go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say, it was great to hear everyone's thoughts on what they're going to do with the blackout and in regards to the timing. But yeah, I agree with you, Ronnie. I think it needs to be done, but again, you're right to question the timing. And I didn't realize that next weekend was the last weekend in the championship. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it would have happened if it was the last weekend of the Premier League or the WSL for that matter.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be right. I just look at the timing and I think there was probably a more opportune window for them to do the blackout, and I would have looked at the international break and said we're doing it then, and then you just have the international team and the FA could stand alone and say, yeah, we'll still do it for England, we're going to cover England, but for all of the other clubs, they are going to have a media blackout. Craig, I see someone else is controlling the comments. I like it. Speaking of championship, what a mad day. Top three all lost. Tell me about it. We've got comments. I know that we've got something coming in the next caller. They're going to talk about the Super League as well. So comments. Stuart has got another one that says opening day of the season next year would be good. Yeah, actually, that would actually be very good to have a media blackout then. Everyone knows that the season has started and say, right, we're starting and telling you this is what's going to happen if you do this, and we're going to show you this is what it looks like. And then when it does happen or anyone is abused, then the teams and clubs can say, right, media blackout, we're not doing anything for a couple of days, and to keep doing it until individuals learn. Or they get bored and go away and find, I don't know, stamp collecting a more interesting option to do during the weekend.
The actual thing, though, is I don't actually think they do get bored. I just think they're actually sad people with no lives. Do you know what I mean? That have got literally nothing better to do with their lives. It's just, it's sad.
Yeah.
Feel sorry.
I feel sorry.
Nothing better to do.
Yeah, I've got to go back quick. I think I missed the comment.
We're just saying goodbye to Shahan, by the way.
Sorry, DM. I'm so sorry, DM.
So I'm just going to say goodbye.
Bye, Shahan.
Thanks, Shahan.
Bye, Shahan.
Cool.
Thanks for the call.
Good night, guys. Invite me to the calf soon. I look forward to it. Cool. Have a good night,
Listen,
guys.
we're going to do an open session calf where everyone's invited, even those behind the scenes. So they're all on camera, and that includes you too, DM. DM's not.
Thank you. Thank you.
DM's not biting like that.
I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
So yeah, good. I'm going to call somebody else in a second. So
okay, right. We'll hold off. We won't go into anything too deep. That's for sure. We'll go through the comments. Where's the one? Again, there's quite a few that I missed. Craig, one thing's for sure, they wouldn't have done this if it was final of the season. Done that. Going back to Aston Villa, we talked very briefly about that. Marcus was brought in to add some experience and help Gemma Davis do what?
Where is Gemma Davis?
That's a Siri question.
I would feel so much better about that if Gemma was by his side on the touchline. Like, exactly. I don't understand, why is she taking a back seat? Like, they need to be side by side and managing that team together. If that's what he's there for, that's what they should be doing.
He must be doing like coaching by PowerPoint for Gemma. Like after the game, like this is how I stood, this is what I said. Because I have never seen anything like that in football, where you say someone's coming in to support and then the manager just disappears.
I just think Gemma deserves so much better. And if it was me, and if that was the way that the club had approached me, I'd just think, well, I'm better than that, and I deserve better than that, and I'm going to go to a club that appreciate what I do and what I can bring to this club, rather than overlook be overlooked like the way she is being, which I think is really bad.
It's true. I want to know what Villa fans are thinking. You know, I actually want to know what they're thinking. They're probably actually still stunned that the team that was a trailblazer last season, before the season was curtailed due to COVID, and they were ripping it up unbeaten. I really want to know what they thought about that team being torn up.
Yeah.
Honestly, please, Villa fans, give us a call. Give us a call. You've been told. Another comment's come in. Here we go. Stuart said, wasn't Gemma on the recent list of coaches who's been put on an elite FA coaching program with the likes of Carla Ward and many others? I know that she was definitely doing a coaching course with Carla, because when I spoke to Carla, she'd mentioned that she was on the coaching course with quite a few managers. But even so, the optics don't look right. You know, the optics don't look right. We've got a comment here from Chris. It says she is on the touchline with Marcus and the training ground.
Yeah, but his is the only voice you can hear. I was watching the match yesterday, and all you can hear is Matt and Marcus in the Bristol Aston Villa game. She's just sat there, like she's been completely and utterly been replaced.
She's on the bench.
Yeah,
like
she's been completely and utterly replaced in every sense of the word.
Not a good. Do you know something? It's not Marcus's fault. It goes above that. That decision is much higher. Much higher. We know who. It's much higher. Malik says there is a Villa fan in the chat. It's Chris. Yeah, Chris. Cheers. Chris is in the house. Hello. Who's this? Is anyone there?
Oh yes.
Hello, it's Nick here.
Hey, Nick.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to chat about Wolves. Wolves women and the hopeful progression up the into Tier 3 from Tier 4 after last season where we won 20 out of 21 games.
Yeah.
And this season where we absolutely, we haven't lost at all this season, obviously with that excellent cup run as well.
Yeah, and are you hopeful with that thought?
I'll be honest. If we don't go up, I'll be flabbergasted. I mean, we've got, as I said, we've won so many games the last sort of 2 seasons against really good opposition. We've beat 2 Tier 3 teams in the cup to get to play against Blackburn and gave them a good run for the money. We've just beaten Stoke today 5-1, and I mean that's in the friendly cup competition, but it's still against a Tier 3 opposition. We're also, when you look at the other, so that's the 75% of on the pitch stuff, etc. When you look at the 25% off the pitch, the team have been sort of pre-COVID. We're using Compton, the training ground, being supported. We're travelling, the day before matches to make best use of that sort of rest and recoup. So you're not sort of walking straight off the coach in to try and play a match, doing everything off the pitch to help support the girls in progression. So I'd be really flabbergasted if we're not given that a chance to go and play in Tier 3. And actually, I think it'll be unfair on the other teams in the Midlands, Division 1, because we're not getting they're already coming up against teams that a group of players who they know shouldn't be there and are giving them a good run for their money, and turning up and really dominating the games. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to those teams, but we're giving quite a few of them good pastings, and that's not fair for everybody. For anybody.
To be honest, I'm hopeful that Wolves do come up. I believe that the Championship and the team in Tier 3, they need more opportunity. I mean, I look at it from the WSL down, and I think that the WSL is too small in terms of numbers. I believe that the Championship is an odd league in terms of numbers, 11 teams. So you've got one team missing out every other week, which doesn't make sense. Not from an optics point of view, not from a fan. Imagine being a fan and you say, I can only go and watch my team once a fortnight. I mean, I don't know how that works. So seriously, that's not a real football fandom. That's more of like a pastime. Like you might go for a walk every now and then. So I watched the Wolves and they played Watford, and just blew them away. And I just thought, this team is in the wrong tier. So they have to come up. And whatever the FA need to do to grow the game, considering the money that's coming in further up the line, then they need to do it. And they shouldn't, and I do hope that they don't, make it too difficult a stipulation for certain teams like Wolves to come up. Because I will say this, Nick, that I've been to Crystal Palace a couple of times at their home ground, and they play in Bromley. They play on a 4G pitch, but the FA have got a stipulation about a 4G pitch not being right for and their semi-pro not being right in terms of being professional. But it's okay when it's Conti Cup, and it's okay when it's the Vitality Cup, but not for the league as a professional. So if you want to grow the game, you done. Yeah,
I think it's really important. I think it's really important we carry on growing the game. I think it was an interesting point you made about the Championship being 11 teams at the minute.
Yeah.
When you look at what the statements have said about the number of teams they're progressing and what's happening sort of with the shunt round, it doesn't quite stack up. It could well be there is either the Northern or the Southern Premier could end up with 13 teams in it, which is just an odd number again. And I hope that they take the sort of pragmatic approach of saying, no, we want to have 14 teams in each of these divisions because it gives everybody a competitive game every week, and with us, it'll help develop the league. Because, like yourself, I want the WSL to expand. I want the Championship to expand. They're too small. The leagues themselves are too small at the minute.
Yeah, you wouldn't even get teams. You wouldn't even get leagues of 11 or 13 in your under sevens. Yeah, I'm just saying, you just wouldn't. You look at any local newspaper where there's Sunday football, and there are like 20 teams in there.
I think with Wolves as well, they've got a really good ethos, and I think sometimes some teams just stand out against everyone else, and you just think they've got a real strong will to progress and to achieve, and I feel like Wolves are one of those clubs as well.
That comes down to the manager. Dan McNamara has done an amazing job over the last couple of seasons, but I've been really impressed with him over this, especially this last lockdown, and sort of nulling and voiding, because he's done lots of interviews and he's made it really clear it's not about the progression, it's about the moments that they've lost. The players have lost those moments, and to be able to pick a team up that was sort of basically about 2 games away from winning the league last season, to get them back up and winning games this season, to then have it taken away again, and then get them to pick them up and get them playing again like they did in the game against Forest, or all 3 of the cup games they've had this season. That takes some man management, and it's amazing. I think that's real credit to him. So, I mean, I've said before now that I think Mac has managed the team amazingly, both on and off the pitch.
Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about...
Because you kind of feel as well like something like that could essentially have a not so positive effect on the team. But like you said, they've been able to sort of come back from that, and they really want to still sort of progress, and I think that's, like you said, that's credit to obviously the manager, the team, and the players, to put that fight in as well. And I think it's great that obviously that funding has obviously come into place, and that recognition now that they can see that clubs are overachieving at the moment, and obviously the pandemic has played its part and sort of squandered those sort of opportunities for some teams.
Ali, completely. I mean, I was really worried as a Wolves fan that we weren't be able to get a kick on at the beginning of this season, but obviously that helped. And just a couple of points about sort of the team as a whole, sort of keeping them going. Was sort of at the end of last season where it all got nulled and void. Every single member of the team as a collective, sort of backroom staff, the lot, got a letter from Jeff Sheed, the sort of the Wolves chairman, Fosun representative, recognising their achievements, acknowledging that they'd been nulled and void, but saying they were pointing out how proud they still were of them. And then also, in the cup run, Jeff was at all, the home games. He couldn't make it to the away game, Watford, but he was there at the home games. And in fact, was the comment from the journalist was he was so infused and getting involved. He was actually down almost practically pitch side, acting as ball boy for the getting the ball back into play as quickly as possible. And that shows the commitment that the club have also brought into it, and helps inspire those players as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ali, did you have anything that you wanted to get from Nick?
Yeah, I just want to know what your numbers like normally, like in pre-COVID times. Like, do you think you're going to be aiming for Molyneux if you go up the ranks in terms of your next home ground, or like what is Wolves'
I think
acceptance of their women's team really?
I think what's really done it well is this last couple of, in a weird sort of way, is these last sort of couple of weeks with the games being live streamed and having the commentators, the Mikey Burrows, who does the sort of the main commentator for Wolves as a club, and with Claire Hakeman, ex-Wolves player, also joining on the co-coms, it's got a lot of fans' attention to them. So I think there's a lot more interest, and because the media are talking about them locally, about how they have been struck, how we've had the last 2 seasons nulled and void, there is a lot of sort of one pack underdog type mentality around it. We've been hard done by. We want to see our women's team in the division they need to be, and I think there'll be a lot more interest once they are up there. People who have, at the minute, Wolves men's team haven't exactly been setting the world on fire. So having a team that's been winning games is been really good for us as a club mentally. So therefore, I think it has driven sort of support that way.
That's good. There's a question there on the board from Craig. Again, Craig's in the house. It says, what level do you think Jade Cross is capable of playing at? And he's put question mark WSL.
She'll be leading Wolves into the WSL, Craig. Don't worry about that.
Craig was trying to tap her up for Birmingham, I'm sure.
Well, she's a Wolves girl through and through. She plays gold and black, as does her twin sister at the back. So she wouldn't. She'll choose if she was going to leave. She'll choose a proper team, not Birmingham. Craig, don't worry.
Slap.
Sorry, Craig. Too easy.
I think Craig's question didn't realise he was actually laying the dynamite back towards himself. Oh gosh, that's so good, Nick. That's brilliant.
But Jade, in all seriousness, Craig's right. Jade is an amazing player. It was really interesting. I caught up with Mikey Burrows, as I said, who did the comms for Wolves. He's sort of doing his sort of a weekly catch up of how the Wolves team's been doing, and he was there. He admits he hadn't watched that many of the women's games, but his comments was, "I watched Jade Cross, and every young player should watch how she plays, especially if they want to be a striker." Because she sits there, on the shoulder of the last defender, causes problems. And you look at the goals that she scored and created over the last sort of 3 FA Cups, and it's because of her blistering pace. She was able to put the pressure on the defenders, make the defenders make mistakes, and get in there and score goals. It's why she's got over 100 goals for Wolves in about 150 odd games. She is a goal machine. So yeah, and certainly I would hope to see her. She'll stay with Wolves as far she's not going to leave for anyone else as far as I'm aware. She's certainly, I know when Craig's spoken to her before for his stuff, and that it's not that she's not being interested in moving on, but she'll certainly be able to thrive in the Championship. It'll be in Tier 3 next season with us, and hopefully onward, hopefully higher. It will be good to see her challenged against tougher defences as well, because I think it'll help strengthen her. But she's a right little terrier. She's worth watching.
Yeah, I want Wolves in the Championship now, right now. Right now.
I think it was that game against Blackburn showed us with little bit some of that was rusting us and fitness levels. And we're not quite there because we're still all sort of, our captain, Anna Price, is a full-time PE teacher and things like that. You've still got that level. We're still only training, whereas Blackburn is semi-professional. So I think there is that, we're not quite at that jump just yet. But I believe that's the aspirations for the club for the next next couple of years to be up at that level. And certainly the way we're playing, we should be challenging for that Northern Premier title if we carry on beating teams like we have been doing.
That's good. Well, Nick, I'm going to say thank you for calling in. When we are back up on air, please do call again. It's great to hear about the good things that are happening, and I really like the fact that they're co-coms for the games as well. So that's brilliant stuff. So a salute to Wolves for doing that. Or the FA player, but there you go. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Take care, Nick.
No problem at all. Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Wow. I did quickly look at Nick's Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Get some light in here. Hold on.
Yeah, do you get light in there? Get some light. You've gone dark. Quick, where's the batteries? Wolves, they're 18 points in their 6 games, right? They scored 37 goals and conceded 3.
So they need to be pumped up.
Yeah, they need to be moved up from that league.
Like I said, some clubs you you know, they've got like, you know, either Championship League written all over them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was, you know, some, you know, Championship teams that you just think belong in the WSL. It's, you know, and it's a strange old game, and that's why we're saying, you know, we need to look at expanding, because there are, you know, at the moment there are teams that are sort of outperforming where they belong, you know, where they belong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a chat last year, you know, when Villa came up. I mean, Leicester wasn't in the position that they were in now, but we would have said Durham could have gone into the WSL. Sheffield United could have gone into the WSL.
To be honest, Sheffield, I'm really surprised, because, you know, you look at sort of like Sheffield of last season, and for me, I was pretty much expecting them to be the team to come up. So it's surprising how far within the last sort of 12 months or so, and obviously the pandemic, how that's played its part, just how sort of far these teams have come, like Durham and the likes of Leicester as well. So, you know, and obviously with Liverpool trying to fight to get back into the WSL as well.
Yeah, but Leicester invested massively. If you look at the players that they signed, I don't know if it was this season or last, but you had like Remy Allen's gone to Leicester. Esme de Graaf, who was playing for us last season, has gone there. Rusha Littlejohn was there for a little bit before she went to Birmingham.
I've got to cut you, Ali, as you're mid-flow, because we've got a caller, next caller, and then in capital letters, caller.
Charlie, you're in.
Hello, Charlie.
Hi, hello.
How are you? Good.
Yeah,
What's your
I'm
question
good.
for us?
Good. Sorry,
and who are you supporting?
Who am I supporting? Well, Lewis Football Club, of course.
Of course. Mighty Lewis.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've had a great result today. Because in fact we figured out, because we just beat Leicester City 1-0. We've figured out that under the laws of conkers, that means that we're now the league champions.
Yeah, I do believe that. I believe it. In the laws of conkers and marbles, I believe you're right.
Yeah. Well, you know how it works in here. So basically, as long as we don't get beaten by Palace next week, then that's it. We're up. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be difficult for Palace, definitely, because I know how well drilled Lewis are. So a great result for your team today. Yeah. I mean, are you able to? I mean, what's your specific question in relation to today's call? Is it specifically about Lewis? Your hopes for next season?
Well, I was going to sort of have a little bit, I suppose, of a chat about European Super League. I haven't heard all the rest of the show so far, so I don't want to be repeating anybody. But I think,
no. You set the bar, sir. Let's go.
Oh, there we go. So, yeah, I mean, it's thoughts on European Super League, essentially. I mean, obviously, it's an awful lot, you know, that's already been said on it, really. But I think that although, on the one hand, we can sort of brush off the fact there was like one line in 14 pages or whatever it was about a women's European Super League amongst all the other nonsense going on. On one hand, you can brush off as clearly ridiculous in the classic normal treatment of women's football by guys at the top of men's football. But I do think it's also worth flagging it and being concerned, to be honest with you, because it just shows you that, because although the women's game's come on very fast and is doing relatively well, that it's still in a vulnerable position whereby, you know, had this thing gone through, we could have seen the ridiculous thing of an ESL populated by the women's teams of the men's ESL teams. And as we know, women's football, those are not the best 12 teams, etc. And we could have seen a hole ripped in women's football. So I think it's very concerning. I think it's a warning shot that women's football needs to kind of almost like, you know, get stronger, faster, and really has to have its own, potentially even like its own governance somehow, because it was, I think we should be more worried than possibly some people have been by what's gone on with that.
Yeah, definitely. Ali, Emma, what are your thoughts and what's been said there?
Well, that was it. That was the thing. It was like, how was the European Super League going to work in relation to women's football? Was it going to be, we take the top teams of each league in Europe, or was it going to be if your men's team are up there, you're coming for the ride? Because it's going to be like, as we've just been said, teams like Tottenham and who was the other one that they would have mentioned that was going to be up there that isn't quite up there with in WSL terms?
You mean Arsenal?
Well, Arsenal
Liverpool
women are doing better than the men.
Oh, you mean Manchester?
It was that
What's
thing.
that?
Like, but it was that thing though of like they're not quite European level, and you're going to bring Tottenham up, or was it going to be a whole separate Super League where you bring in your Leons? Because if you're doing that, then Leon men are going to get a nice boost into the Super League because they're not as good as it was. Just there was no thought. There was no thought.
No, Emma.
Yeah, I like Ali said, there was no thought into the actual initial process of how the women's game was going to be literally quite dragged into this and tarnished with the brush of obviously the men's setup. I mean, it was a bit ridiculous. I think I spoke to you, Rodney, about how it was a similar situation with the Big Picture project that was announced last year. Again, a sort of nod to the women's game that was almost, for the sake of doing it, to be honest. It doesn't surprise me that the whole idea has been thrown out the window now with the backlash that obviously clubs has faced from the fans speaking out about this whole mess. And it's just a shame that the women's game was brought into it in the first place, to be honest. Just let them get on with it. I think we're still in the early, we're still in a process of developing the women's game, and as time goes by, it's getting better and it's becoming more progressive. It's the rise that we've seen has been exponential this season, and I'm sure that'll carry into next. Long may it continue. We've seen obviously the referee. We've been calling out for better officiating, and that's obviously been announced this week that there'll be some funding and more of a professional outlook on that for the officiating, which is fantastic. Obviously, with the broadcasting deals that we've seen announced as well, the sort of improvements that we'll see across the board in terms of conditions, in terms of pitches and things like that as well. So there is a lot of positives that have come out of the last couple of months, and it was just a shame that for initial, 72 hours, that there was a little bit of uncertainty and worry as to what it meant for the women's game. But yeah, I'm concentrating more now on this progression that we've seen and hopefully what it will bring for the women's game for the future.
Yeah, Charlie, I've got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. You mentioned about own governance. Could you elaborate on that? And is Lewis the model?
Is Lewis the model? Well, I mean, I suppose I'm talking about an individual club level. Obviously, many of your listeners' viewers will be aware that Lewis is 100% fan owned, and that's definitely a key part about the power behind Lewis. That means we take the stances we do and we make the decisions that we make. That's absolutely true. But I guess I'm thinking more in terms of literally the top level of the game. So you'll be aware at the moment there's discussion. There've been sort of discussions etc. going on about what to do with the WSL and Championship, the top two leagues, essentially, whether at some point they may be sold off independently. So the FA selling them to people, and that's there are pros and cons kind of for doing that. But I think I guess what I mean by the governance thing is the women's football needs to get to a position of independent revenue strength as soon as possible. Because if it doesn't, then at the moment, because so many clubs, and it's understandable why for the time being, but because so many clubs at the top are still heavily, they're subsidised and supported by the men's version of the Premier League club, then of course it's a good thing to get that investment in. But the downside is it means that those women's teams are heavily like indebted, in whatever sense you wish to say, to the men's teams, and therefore ultimately indirectly to the men's Premier League. And since we've seen how a number of members of the men's Premier League act, all the while women is still not revenue independent, it means at risk. It means it's fragile. So I think there are things to think about in terms of ownership and governance of the women's game to think about, but I also think there are things to do along the way, and those are things which are about really thinking how to drive independent revenue into the women's game so that it can move away from needing this investment, which clearly many clubs do at the moment, from the men's club. So for example, a big campaign that we started 2 years ago, be pushing even more, is to equalise FA Cup prize money between the women's and men's FA Cup. Because I've heard it said by various members of the FA. They want to, and we're aligned, want to see women's clubs be able to earn more revenue. But in order to do that, the revenue has to be available. So we have two possible routes. One route is to equalise the prize money between the men's and women's FA Cup, because again, I think you'll be aware, but maybe not all viewers, listeners will be aware, that the total prize money for the men's FA Cup is, I mean, it got doubled then halved again, but it's still about £15.9 million. And the total prize money for the women's FA Cup is £309,000. And the winners of the women's FA Cup, in fact, let me give you, I was about to tell you that the winners of the women's FA Cup final would win £25,000 and the men 1.8. Now, but in a sense, which brings it back home in an even more kind of "are you kidding" kind of way, and this is why the revenue is so important, is that we were beaten by Southampton last week in the FA Cup fourth round. Obviously, really wanted to win. The bizarre thing is that had we won it, we would have won £2,000 prize money for winning that game. A men's equivalent would have won 67.5. But had we won it, we would have won £2,000. We would have needed to extend our season by 2 weeks to play the fifth round because of how it's being organised. And those extra two cost Lewis Football Club about £10,000 in order to do it. So actually, had we advanced in the FA Cup, which we wanted to do, but we would have actually lost £8,000 by doing it. So such is the obscenity of the inequality of prize funds in women's football. And I don't think it's too strong to put it. It means that you get ridiculous situations like that. So that's something we really want to see other clubs get on board with, and we're going to be publishing some more details about that going forward. Secondly, and more simply, it would be so much better if both the top leagues, for example, had 16 clubs and not 12 clubs, because with so few games, it means we can't generate the revenue. So it's literally generate the independent revenue so that women's game can become more independent, so that when ridiculous ideas like ESL come along, we're not sucked into the lunacy.
Do you know something?
I'm so into this. I'm so into this idea. Sorry, I just had to jump in because I'm just.
No, jump in, please, because it's almost like it's like a bedtime story that you need to hear. It's just soothing to hear this. It is, because I'm thinking,
it's a bedtime horror story, isn't it?
Well, it's a horror story, but the solution is so simple. The solution is so, and I'll actually add something to that. I'll add something to that if you don't mind. With all of the talk about the European Super League and the Champions League being revamped, and they're talking about the Carabao Cup, there's a cup competition that's one too many. Why doesn't the Carabao Cup then sponsor the WSL or sponsor the WSL and Championship, so that revenue goes to the women? Why does it have to all go to the Premier League? What do you understand? You've got so many cup competitions that men's football don't even care about now, that you think, okay, well, I want to sponsor football, let me sponsor women's football. I'll give the prize money to them.
And can I just say one thing? Sorry to jump in.
Please do.
Because we do have one final caller which we need to phone.
We need to squeeze in. Yes,
we need to squeeze in. But I'd love it next season if all of the clubs who are involved in the FA Cup could, all the fans of the clubs could join in a shared song that we sung at the FA Cup games, demanding equality for prize money. So it's an idea I've had for a while. And I
didn't know there was a song. How does it go?
It's not very good at the moment, but I just know it's just wait a minute, just like equality for prize money. We're standing up for the FA Cup for equality, or something like that. There's loads of things you could do.
I had no idea. That's great.
Well, I mean, that's a song that's been in my head. It's not a thing that is anybody sings, but it's just an idea of a nice campaign that everybody could do. All teams, all tiers could get on board and sing that and make that demand, because I think it's such an important one. It's such an important point that you're making about. It's about governance. It's also about equality, and it's just about becoming self-sustaining entities. And it's something we can all be part of.
Well, do you know what? I think I'm the call away from just to sort of say this. I just feel I have to say this quote. So one of the quotes from sort of the original kind of feminists and feminist writers was that women don't desire power over men; they simply want power over themselves. And as the revenue is what will give women the power over themselves in the game. That's why it's so important.
It's the fifth demand of the women's liberation movement: legal and financial independence for all women. But it's obviously a demand that goes back for many, many centuries of feminist movements. But I totally applaud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. And we want to hear from you again as well. Lewis, this Lewis. I think, to be honest, fans need to be involved in their team in terms of being a shareholder. Right. DMs, have we got another call, DM? Because we've got to squeeze one in.
Yes, we do. I just need to call them.
Okay. Don't worry. We're here. Let's go through the comments one more time.
I want to say about Lewes, I think they're a club that just do everything right.
Yeah,
everything they do. I'm so on board with everything they do. You know, there's no transparency with Lewes. You know where you stand, and they're honest and upfront about everything. You know, like last season, the FA Cup campaign, they made a point of highlighting the prize fund and prize money that they were going to get for competing in the tournament. And you know what? At this stage in the tournament, that prize money can make a massive difference to a club like Lewes, you know, Huddersfield, you know, Derby. It's really important because a lot of clubs haven't got that disposable income, and that can make a big difference.
Yeah. I think it was something like they did the pyramid of it, and it worked out that you guys, Manchester City, got for winning is the same level as the men's fourth round, not even proper. You know, the ones that the lower league teams have to compete in to get to the first league. I think it worked out if you got to that fourth round of that before it starts proper, that's the same amount as what you guys got for winning it.
Yeah. It really needs to be addressed, really.
Yeah, I Carabao Cup can sponsor the WSL and Championship. You know, it could actually sponsor the league. I know that there's revenue coming in from Sky, but you could actually have the league be sponsored. You know, because we've got the Vitality Cup, which isn't on the FA player. Go figure.
No.
Don't get. You got a cup sponsor, and then what will happen when it's the final? Would you play? Will that be on the FA player?
You get highlights 24 hours later.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, the conversations that we're having around like fan engagement and what we're prepared to do or what we want, we're not asking for the world. You know, the Glazers and Laporte are doing that.
You know, like players make sacrifices, just like the men do, and even though the individual games isn't as intense.
I think we've got a caller. It's all happening. International rescue. Hello, who's there?
We've got Adam on the phone. So hi, Adam.
Adam, hello.
Hello there.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's everybody?
We're good. We're good.
We're good. We're good. We're parched, and we're eager for your question. What have you got for us, sir?
Oh, hello. I'm just fine. I'm just trying to. Today, when we're talking about this today, I think in terms of the season, it's symptomatic of what we were missing as a whole. We were just absolutely fantastic today, I thought, and the players that we needed throughout the whole season, sadly, were not there through the season. Were they? Like Press, for example, and Galton came on, which is fantastic to see. And then if we just had them for the whole season, I just think we really, really could have pushed Chelsea and City further, been in the Champions League for certain. It's just, I'm delighted with the result today and the performance, and it's the season as a whole. It's something to build on. It's fantastic. It's our first full season, hopefully, if we get through these last couple of matches in the WSL. And it's just something to build on. I'm delighted with the whole season as what we've done, and it's a good building block for next season. The big questions still remain over Press and Heath's contracts. If they sign with us for next season, I'll be absolutely delighted. Because that's the type of the players that we need on a regular basis. Press today's movement off the ball was fantastic, and she really deserved her goal today.
I mean, initially I wasn't sure which team you were talking about until you said Preston Heath, because I missed. I think you cut out. So yeah, definitely Manchester United did really, really well. I'm going to ask you a question. If they don't sign, what does that mean for the club?
It would be a body blow, to be honest. I think because they came in with all the hype and all the media attention that came with signing 2 World Cup winners and all of what they won as individuals and at club level, international level. So if they don't sign, because obviously Leon are looking for 2 midfielders, they've got whole issues with their midfield. So I think if they don't sign for us, they sign for Leon. They are that caliber players. I know they've had their injuries, quarantine issues and stuff like that for us, which has hindered them hugely for us. But if we don't sign, that will set us back. I don't like to say, I'm not a negative person, but it will set us back, and we will need to find somehow or replace them without Champions League football to offer top-class players. I know circumstances of signing them were because of COVID, basically, and that's how a few other Americans came to the WSL. And without them, we are going to look far less of to other players, because if they were to sign, I could see other players wanting to play with them, and so that domino effect would be the positive way. But if they don't sign, the opposite domino effect could happen as well, in terms of players thinking, why should we sign for them if they're not signing? There's no Champions League football, there's no press, no Heath. There's that negative side that could come into it. I'm not saying, there's an opportunity to play with Lauren James, opportunity to play with Elisa Russo. So, it just depends on how you look at this.
Yeah.
But, there is that negative side of not playing with. So I don't want it to happen. It's just that with it being up in the air at the minute, it is hard to see, without having a firm answer.
Yeah, well, I can understand your concerns, and I will say this, and we're kind of running out of time in terms of the show. What I will say is this: if they don't sign, I would say that this year has been beneficial for the young players that are there who have seen the likes of Heath and Press. So Russo, Lauren James, Galton, all of these players, Staniforth, will have benefited from sharing time during training with these international players, and even in terms of next season, they will be better for it. They won't be worse off if they leave. I think they'll be better for it, because I think, at some point players move on, and this was only meant to be a loan deal initially, and there was no real mention of it being 2 years. It was 1 year. So if they don't sign, if they don't stay, it's not the end of the world, because the request to stay for another season wasn't a definite. It was a possible. It was a possible. I want to say thanks for your call. I don't know if the Ali and Emma have got any calls. They're looking at me. I think they've got line of duty, furrowed brow. They're thinking, you do realise, Adam. I'm going to say thanks for getting in finally. I know we had quite a bit of difficulty early on, but thank you for holding on and coming on and sharing your points. And when we are back, please do call again and let us know what you think about Manchester United. Obviously, end of season and the hopes for the new season, because I'm not sure when we're going to do another show. So we'll find out. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Whoa. You know what? We were only meant to do 20 minutes. I'm not joking. I'm joking.
Ali's only done 20 minutes.
No, she's not. She's
an
not.
hour, have you know?
She's done a whole hour. She's done a whole. It literally took 30 minutes for her to log in. We're going to wrap up, so I'm going to say thank you again. Let me get the comments in there. Thank you to everyone that's been watching. I'm getting messages. Can we hang on the line afterwards? Yeah, thank you again. There's comments. I think there's Stuart in the house. Stuart say thank you. Take care, Stuart. Thank you very much. Maniac 1985. I like that. Craig, obviously. And to answer the question when I talked about the Carabao Cup being sponsoring the WSL, I did realise that WSL was sponsored by Barclays. I'm not saying that they should replace them. I'm just talking about the money being spread, because no one ever says anything about the Premier League being sponsored by someone, and then the FA Cup being sponsored by someone, and then the Carabao Cup being, and then everyone, all the money just goes to the men, and the women have got to deal with, you know, the tea-stained cup. I'm talking about a big sponsor saying, I am going to go and move my focus onto the women's game alongside another organisation. It can happen. It can happen. You know, I'm not asking for anything that's not possible. They sent a man to the moon, for crying out loud. And woman. It's been great. Thank you, Craig, in the background. Thank you, DM. I love DM when she comes through. See, Craig's there. I love when DM comes through and she's got the microphone there. It's like old school radio jock, you know, just there, like. And Craig. All right, Craig. This has been a team effort. So please do share, do go onto YouTube and tell everyone else, spread the word. We are a group of individuals come together, try to get fans to share their voice. It is a fans phone-in for women's football, and we are doing our best to make it possible and make it accessible for everyone. And hopefully we'll be back. I'm not sure if before the end of the season, but definitely next season. See, that probably promises there already. I'm going to thank Emma for jumping in to the hot seat when she was probably going to get ready to have a nice sit on the sofa.
I was going to out with your social media elements. So yeah, I didn't do my hair. I look a mess, but
yeah,
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Someday, innit?
That's all right. No worries. And thanks for Ali for persevering and sorting out your headphone issues. You know, we will get it sorted next time. Thanks to, again, DM in the background, who's the driving force for this. She doesn't think she's, or they don't think they are, but they are. And Craig again. I'm Rodney Cyrus, humbly saying to you, thank you very much for being with us. Please do come back again and, you know, spend your time with us and do all the things that needs to be done. Anyway, that's it for now.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. But this is us signing out. Enjoy and go and get a cup of tea. It's line of duty. Later.
No, get a gin and tonic.